Good evening. The school board of the Duval County School District is now convened in its regular monthly meeting. To everyone present and to our television viewers, I wish to extend a warm welcome to this meeting of the Duval County School Board. The vision statement of the Duval County School Board states, "Every student is inspired and prepared for success in college or a career and life." The mission statement of the Duval County School is to provide educational excellence in every school, in every classroom, for every student, every day. The Duval County School Board is here tonight to listen to reports from district staff and to set policy for the district that will improve student achievement. We will also address budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and other business items that require a vote of the board. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. It is not the role of the board to make managerial or operational decisions. The board has policies and procedures in place to assist the superintendent in resolving management and operational issues. If items appear to move quickly, it is because the board meets in an agenda committee meeting prior to the board meeting for an in-depth review of all agenda items. The committee meeting for the September 10th, 2018 school board meeting will be held on August 21st, 2018 at 9 a.m. and the public is invited to attend. As a show of courtesy and respect to each other, we ask that all mobile phones be turned off and that no flash photography be used during the meeting. For those wishing to address the board during our public comments portion of the board meeting, please note that we will accept speaker cards until 6:20 p.m. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening and for your interest in the operation of the Duval County School District. Board members, I invite you to stand for the opening pledge, for the opening with a moment of silence and followed by and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight for our presentation, we will have Stanton College Preparatory School Principal Ms. Majova, District 4.
That's why I have my babies, they can help mama. So to the board chair, board members, superintendent, and the house at large, we greet you from Stanton College Prep on Medal and 13th. So today we are going to share with you Stanton beyond academics. So we'll start at first to talk to you about our theme. And our theme is Ubuntu. And Ubuntu comes from the two tribes, the Zulu tribe and the Xhosa tribe, but because I'm a Xhosa girl, I will say that it comes from the Xhosas. So Ubuntu is really talking about saying that I am because we are, and it truly states that a person is a person through other persons. So you can't do it alone, you have to do it together. And while doing that, you have to show human kindness. And as you can see, the children, you have to have the unity circle to actually show that you are together, you are a team, you are doing it, and you feel that you are because everyone else is successful.
So I'm here to introduce the many academic societies that we have at Stanton. So our subject societies provide opportunities for students to gain a deeper appreciation for and understanding of an academic area they love and share that experience with others. And for example, we have many different societies such as the National Societies of Art, Chinese, French, English, Film, Spanish, Journalism, Science, the Thespian Society, History, Honor, Latin, and many more.
I'm Alvin Gundian. I'm a senior. I'm here to talk about the several clubs that we have at the school. So we have over 80 clubs ranging from sandwich to fashion to political activism club. These clubs meet not only just for social interaction, but to create more well-rounded individuals who have an impact in their community. Our political activism club hosted a roundtable with several schools across the county to talk about issues that impact our community and the nation at large.
Hi, my name is Mylissa Pinkney. I'm a rising senior, or am a senior. So weird. I'm here to talk about Stanton's sports. Stanton's athletic programs seek to instill ideals of teamwork, effort, support, personal growth, and reflection in the student athlete. These interweave our Ubuntu with our Ubuntu theme and the IB learner profile. Our overall record from the 2012 through 2015 seasons in football was 1-39. But this past season, we were blessed with a drastic improvement as our record was finished with a 6-8. As you can tell from this picture, they're very excited about that. Our girls soccer team were Gateway Conference champions from 2012, 13, 15, 16, 17, and 18. And for the 2016 through 2017 season, our school came as a community and went to go cheer on our girls soccer team as they were named the FHSAA state runner-ups. Hannah Carolyn, a good friend and a graduate of the class of 2018, was the #1 goal scorer in the nation and received a full scholarship to Jacksonville University to play lacrosse. And not only that, but not only do our student athletes come together in group sports, but also our individual sports. They were FHSAA state finalists in tennis, swimming, track, cross country, and wrestling. So Stanton isn't necessarily known for their athletics, but it is still a vital aspect of our community that our students have been shown to excel in. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tia Butler, and I'm also a rising senior, and I'm here to talk about our amazing cultural programs that we have at our school. So we have from Winterfest to multicultural to pep rallies. These programs provide opportunities for the student body to celebrate the school and each other. And within these 3 activities we get to rehearse, perform, and cheer on one another's accomplishments. So Winterfest is an amazing, it's kind of like a talent show, but not like with a winner, because we just want to celebrate everyone's various talents. We've had piano players. I had the opportunity to dance with one of my best friends. It was amazing. So we piano player, dancers, monologues, any talent you have that you want to showcase to our student body, you have the opportunity to express with Winterfest. And we also have our student multicultural organization, and I'm the president, and my lovely friend here, Caitlin, is our director of decorations, and this is an amazing organization in which we express the multitude of cultures that we have at our school. And these pictures showcase our showcase that we have with our dances. In the top left, that's my group. Hey, that's African. In the far right, we have Filipino traditional, and in the bottom we have Korean traditional. So we just have an amazing showcase in which students get to choreograph, teach, learn many cultural dances throughout this program, and we also have an amazing expo. So even if you're not necessarily a dancer, you can show off your talents with your culture's foods, your clothing, anything you'd like to share with the student body.
Good evening. My name is Caitlin Weger. I'm also a rising senior, and I'm here to talk about pep rallies. So pep rallies are a big deal at our school. It is an opportunity for the entire school to come together and celebrate the sports of that season. So as you can see in this picture, the classes are divided into the different colors. So each grade level has their own class color, and it's a friendly competition between the classes of who can dominate the pep rallies and have the most hype for the sports teams during that season. So at Stanton, we stress community outreach. Student and faculty groups take an active role in supporting our local and global community to take on issues and support those in need. Service learning teaches and inspires all learners and contributes to the interconnected society driven by the ideal of human kindness. So to show our diversity, here is thank you in different languages. Merci beaucoup.
Baya danki.
My name is Karis. I forgot to say that. And Akpekaka.
Gracias.
Asante.
Thank you.
Dr. Green, thank you for inviting us. And to show our Ubuntu spirit, here is an Ubuntu shirt that we would like to share with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Wright, for inviting us.
Where's my shirt?
Before you, Ms. Majova, before you all take your seat, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for, and in particular the students, because school has not started yet, so they are not back in the buildings yet, to take a small break within your summer to come and share with the board. Stanton, as Stanton, has a rich, diverse, and strong heritage within North Myrtle, was that Moncrief and 13th. And Moncrief is on one side and Myrtle is on the other side. And I appreciate the fact that you have kept that history there. You have kept the focus on superiority, excellence, and most importantly, collaborating amongst not just the student body, but your faculty and our community. So thank you for all that you have done to help make Stanton Stanton. And it is just, this is my last rotation in terms of being on the board, in terms of presenting a school, and thank you for allowing me to have Stanton showcased because of its heritage and richness within the District 4. Thank all of you.
It's our pleasure, and we thank you too, and thank you for all your support.
I happen to be a mom of 2 Stanton graduates.
Okay.
I probably couldn't have graduated from there, but they did.
Ubuntu, is that right?
Yes, yes.
Ubuntu. Now I would like to call on Superintendent Dr. Diana Green to make the following presentations along with myself to present certificates.
Most of us are familiar with the expression, the gift that keeps giving. Tonight we begin with a series of gifts that will no doubt continue to keep giving to our students and to our schools. For our first presentation, we welcome representatives from our food services provider, Chartwells Thompson Hospitality. Their Vice President of Operations, Jane Buttermore, and Regional Director of Operations, Will Ratley.
See if I can figure this out. Dr. Green, board members, esteemed guests, just wanted to say thank you for allowing us to come and present in front of you this evening. DCPS Food Service and Chartwells kind of used their community engagement funds a little bit different this year. We met with Jane Zenko, who's the Food Service Director for Duval County Public Schools, to really look at what that allocation was going to look like this year. She suggested that we use the funds for more of school-based programs. And the one that kept coming to mind was the culinary programs. So, we really took a look at it to see what they needed and to see that the donations would really impact the students in their careers moving forward after graduation. Then we allocated $2,500 for each one of the programs so they could pick a piece of equipment that would really impact them the most in their program. There we go. Frank H. Peterson, the program director there, Susan Darty, thought that ServeSafe books would be the best use of the money. With that, she wanted her students to be certified in ServeSafe upon graduation so they could enter the workforce immediately, because the ServeSafe certification is a requirement for food service out in the industry. Then at Mandarin High School, program director Chris Wilson was in need of a new ice machine. He wanted to really teach what the food safety handling of cooling down and properly storing food, so we provided him with an ice maker. Over at William H. Raines High School, program director George Mangladon needed new refrigeration. He wanted to really improve and grow his program, so he needed that increased refrigeration storage space. So we got him a double-door reach-in refrigerator. Over at Sandalwood High School, program director Dolores Washington also wanted an ice machine to teach the food safety techniques. She felt the need for her young chefs to fully understand the food safety hazardous analysis critical control point procedures, so we provided an ice maker for them. Over at Terry Parker, program director Dean Hannapel wanted to teach his young chefs about the art of garde-manger, which means in French, the keeper of the food. So that's where you really produce salads and appetizers, hors d'oeuvres, and pâtés, terrines. So with that, he wanted a portable salad bar, which was provided for their class. We are honored to be a part of the DCPS culinary program and want to recognize all of the students that really helped us with very key culinary catering events and food service activities throughout the school year, which really provided valuable hands-on experience for them moving forward in the workforce. We also have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow with all of the program directors to talk about the partnership and how we're going to move it forward this coming year. So thank you for letting us share some of these exciting food service happenings that is going on in your schools. So thank you.
Thank you.
So here, along with Mr. Ratley and Mrs. Buttermore, are Chartwell's District Manager Daryl Smith and Chartwell's Regional Executive Chef Greg Retz. Please join us in celebrating these generous contributions to our schools and our students. Not many of us can add the words life changer to our resume. However, the subject of our final presentation actually can, and that's thanks to the overcoming testimony of one of his students. We now wish to recognize Chris Cook, assistant principal at Mayport Coastal Sciences Middle School and nominee for a 2018-2019 National Life Changer of the Year Award. The National Life Group Foundation annually recognizes educators and school district employees known for making a positive impact on students. Cook's nominator was a parent, Danielle Willis, who says she's not sure where her son Xavier would be without this assistant principal. She says her son's ADHD diagnosis had her terrified of how he would perform in middle school, particularly with his forgetfulness and impulsivity. But from the moment she met Cook, she says her fears were alleviated and have remained that way ever since. Her son is not only on track, but he's also excelling. As a Life Changer of the Year nominee, Cook now has the potential of receiving one of 17 national awards, as well as up to $10,000 that he can split 50-50 with his school. Winners will be announced in the spring, and until then, we wish him the very best. Joining Cook this evening is his principal, Katrina McCrae. Please help us congratulate Cook on his nomination as a 2018-2019 Life Changer of the Year nominee. This concludes this evening's presentations.
That the Duval County School Board approved the August 7th, 2018 agenda as submitted on July 31st, 2018 with the following changes. Approval of agenda, approval of board member via video telephone systems, item added. Approval of agenda, approval of board member via video telephone systems, item withdrawn. Operations, purchasing and logistics, exclusive healthier beverage contract, RFP number 11-18, LM, item withdrawn. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
The motion was moved by Board Member Couch and seconded by Vice Chair Hershey. Any discussion? Seeing none, please register your vote. By your actions, you have approved this item 5-0. Chairman's report. At this time, I am going to yield to Board Member Becky Couch for a presentation regarding the resolution that the board will vote on tonight. Ms. Couch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So there's a presentation that's pretty brief, and it describes the item that we have on our agenda tonight. And when Board Member Wright asked me if I would speak to it, I gladly accepted. So I'm going to start with the resolution. I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to highlight some of the reasons for adding the resolution to the agenda. The reason for me bringing this forward and asking to have it added to the agenda is to have a more public conversation about what the amendment stands for and what it could do to public education. Unfortunately, the way that the amendment was crafted, it's sandwiched the main component is going to be sandwiched in between two very popular items, and I'm not certain that the public would really understand what they're voting for because the language is not clear to the one distinct major change that could take place if this passes. So Amendment 8, the main item that is of concern is it appears to authorize an entity other than the elected school board to establish a traditional public school, a charter school, a school of hope, and or other public school choice option. What this means is several years ago, it was challenged in court when we had Governor Bush in office, and I believe that Duval County School Board was part of that challenge at the time when a charter authorizing body was created. That body was going to be allowed to authorize different schools on behalf of the public, but they were not going to be elected, and therefore it was challenged in court by the school board at that time. The school board successfully defeated that item, and it was struck down statewide. This was actually mentioned several times throughout the discussion in the Constitution Revision Commission debate over this particular amendment to be added. Unfortunately, it wasn't very clear that that was the intent on the amendment that you will see on your ballot if it's not taken off through the courts before then. And what it does is, and we can go to the next slide. It really goes against the fabric of what our country was created on, and that is the independence that we were able to achieve. Our nation was founded on the principle of eliminating taxation without representation. The school board currently, the way that we have it in our state constitution, the school board currently is the elected body by the people through local control to be the authorizer of charter schools. If this amendment passes, that will then allow for the state legislature or possibly the governor to appoint a group of people who are not elected to make decisions on where charter schools can be located. In a couple of years ago, House Bill 7069 passed, and charter schools now receive an equal proportionate share of property tax money. That means that we will be undoing what our founding fathers of this country really fought for, and that is to have a local government that's closest to the people deciding how your taxes are being spent. You now, if this amendment passes, you will have an appointed body that will be deciding how your local property taxes will be spent at a school. Here's another issue that we don't necessarily have in the resolution because it would have really taken a long time to put that in there. But I have brought it up in our budget meetings that we've recently held. The local school board is required to notice how we plan to spend capital funding that is acquired through property tax millage. We have to take out a full-page ad in the newspaper, which we did in July. We then have to hold a public hearing and allow the public to come and participate and urge us to lower taxes or whatever they want to say to us. We have to have those things approved prior to. It has to be noticed. Those hearings have to be held prior to us being able to expend any of your taxes. Charter schools do not have to do that. While they receive a proportionate share per student for the capital funding, they do not have to have a public hearing. They do not have to have a notice in the newspaper for the people who are paying taxes to know what their intent is of how they plan on spending that money. And right now they can do that because the local school board has authorized that charter school, and through their contracts and through their applications, we can monitor how they are fiscally responsible as a local education agency. If this amendment passes, charter schools that will be approved outside of the ones we've already approved will then be able to get the tax money, not tell the public how they plan on spending it, not have to hold the public hearings, and there will be no recourse through an election for you to come and speak before that group as to what your concerns are. That is taxation without representation. That's what that is. And that is against what our country was founded on. Our country also was founded on a government closest to the people. This is certainly not that in this case. And it's, according to the resolution, it denies taxpayers, families, and communities any means to hold the authorizing entity fiscally and programmatically accountable. In state statute, it actually says that charter schools, a local education agency, that's us, cannot tell a charter school that their school board members have to be from the city in which the charter is located. Currently, that's in law. We can't tell a charter school that's coming before us with a contract that they can't have board members that aren't here in Jacksonville. In many of our charter schools, actually, that is the case. They don't have board members that are from Jacksonville. They're from usually down south, in South Florida. it also says in state statute that they only have to have 2 board meetings locally in the county in which their charter school resides. So again, it is not a government closest to the people. If the people who are going to be deciding how those tax dollars are spent, if they don't even have to live here to understand the needs of what our county needs. As a school board member, I have never heard a constituent come to me and say what we need more of are more half-empty schools. I've never heard a taxpayer say that. In fact, it's quite the opposite, and they talk to us frequently about consolidating schools because of low enrollment. But I have pulled the data, and we've discussed it here in this room. Majority of our charter schools aren't at between 80 and 100% capacity either. So when you have a finite amount of resources, and that doesn't seem to be going any higher year after year in our budgets, and you authorize more and more schools, you are now causing the amount of money that each school gets, including charter schools, to have fewer dollars that they can spend on making that building safe and secure for students. According to the resolution, it would encourage the creation of a parallel system of free public schools which threatens the state's ability to comply with the constitutional mandate for a uniform system of free public schools, and it would permit and encourage a process to establish a public school without regard to the need for, desire for, or appropriateness of the new school, which threatens the state's ability to comply with the constitutional mandate for an efficient system of free public schools. Because again, you're taking the finite amount of dollars, you're going to accelerate how many schools are then authorized, and the dollars remain the same. It's just the amount that goes to each school is going to be reduced. An additional public school authorizing entity is neither necessary nor desirable, because in Florida, which I've seen some arguments even in our local press, but across the state, that, well, this is needed because we need more innovation and options. But that's actually not true in our state. In our state, we are a national leader in public and private school choice options, and that includes 3,500 traditional public schools, more than 650 charter schools across the state, and 6 existing private school scholarship programs and a statewide policy of open enrollment. So this isn't about choice, because our state is actually a leader in choice. This is not about choice. I would say for myself, and I probably could speak for my colleagues, it's not about limiting choices either. We have a system that works. We have a system that works, that allows choices for students and parents. And this is more about creating an outside entity that is not held accountable to the public. And I think that, in my personal opinion, that's wrong. Amendment 8 does not clearly and fully explain the possible implications of authorizing an alternate entity. And it's kind of hidden. In fact, Charles T. Wells, who's a former Florida Supreme Court justice, said, quote, "In reality, the term limits and civics education proposals are only bait to attract voters to vote yes for Amendment 8, end quote." They're bait because, one, term limits in Duval County, they already exist. I'm term limited, and so is Board Member Wright. In the next few months, we will no longer be serving the community as board members. And we respect that, and we included that in this amendment to show that we do honor the wishes of our local constituents. They voted several years ago to make term limits occur in Duval County, so that proves that there's already a mechanism that you can use to limit terms for school board members. And if there needs to be more of that, the legislature could actually pass a law that would enable local municipalities to do the same. It also, our resolution speaks to civic literacy is already well established in the Florida statutes. You've probably seen quite a bit of discussion around civics education in Duval County over the last few months. That alone proves that we have civics education in our public school system. It's a requirement for all middle school students to take civics education and the exam counts for 30% of that student's grade. And one of our local state representatives, who was a state representative at the time, Charles McBurney, is actually the one who sponsored that. So we have civics education already. So to enshrine that into the state constitution is not necessary because it's already a law. As far as term limit goes, this is not about protecting the turf of local school boards and whatnot, because like I mentioned, that's already here in Duval County. We already have term limits. And we as a body felt like in this amendment we should also add that that decision should be brought on by the local community. St. Johns County should be deciding for themselves if they want to add term limits to their school board members. Duval County should not make that decision for Baker County, St. John's Clay. That should be left up to their local voters. So that concludes pretty much the gist of the entire resolution. I do want to add that the League of Women Voters is challenging this amendment. It will be in court August 17th, and they're challenging it. I think it's a facial challenge, which is really to say the language for the amendment is not clear as to its intent. It's very clear on the term limits. It's very clear on the civics education. It is not clear in the language of what this will do. And so we added this as a resolution so that we can have a public conversation and really educate the public as to what this potentially could do. It will cause you to have, as a constituent, as a resident of Duval County, to basically diminish your local control over the public school system. It will create an unelected body who you cannot hold accountable through elections and decide not to vote for again. It will be an appointed body who is not guaranteed to be from Jacksonville. They could be from Miami, deciding on whether or not a charter school should be appropriately placed in a community. And it's very unclear still now as to who's going to have to be in charge of that charter school. Even if we don't authorize it, will the local education agency, the local school district, then be held accountable to have to manage that contract that we weren't allowed to be part of? So I would just urge the voters to vote no if the amendment is still on the ballot, and we'll see what happens after the August 17th court case takes place.
Thank you, Board Member Couch. It's important to the board that we position ourselves as a collective body to inform our community regarding initiatives that will negatively impact our community. So tonight we're talking about Amendment 8. We have a resolution regarding Amendment 8. And the second part of our advocacy for tonight is centered around helping our residents become more engaged up before the next legislative session in terms of the budgetary process. And so at this time, we're going to show a video to help you better understand the budget process.
What you hear about how your schools are funded really depends on who you ask. If you listen to some people in Tallahassee, they'll tell you funding is up, which is sort of true. But if you listen to someone who works in a large urban school district in Florida, like Duval, we'll tell you funding is down, and that's true too. So what's the whole truth? Florida public schools funding is overly complicated, but essentially there are two types of funds. Discretionary funds are dollars the school district can use for any of its operating costs. It's how we pay teachers and school principals and buy supplies and instructional resources for kids. For example, it takes discretionary dollars to keep teachers' salaries competitive and to meet the rising cost of healthcare. The second type of funds are called categorical funds. These funds can only be used for specific purposes, as dictated by the legislature. For example, if Tallahassee gives you money to buy computers, you can't use it to buy STEM supplies. Same goes if the state were to give us funds for mental health. That's all you can use it for. But here's the catch. The discretionary money used to pay our day-to-day bills is going down. the categorical money is going up. And that's how school funding is going both up and down at the same time. Let's take a closer look at what this means for Duval County Public Schools. Our discretionary funding for the 2018-2019 school year is about the same as it was last year. But factor in inflation for things like custodial services, fuel costs, and even raises for teachers. Well, you get the picture. When funding is flat, it's really a decrease or a cut. Tallahassee did send us some new cash in the categorical funding category. But remember, how we can spend that money has already been predetermined by your state legislature. It's kind of like if your boss gives you a gift card to buy a pair of shoes. But if the gift card is only enough to cover the cost of one shoe and not the whole pair, it's not much of a gift. And it's not like you can use that money for anything else, like your rent. So even if your boss calls that gift a raise, it really isn't. That's Florida educational funding. A few partial gift cards and no real raises. Those state officials rarely give us enough funding to cover the full cost of the law. So, school districts like Duval have to dig deeper into operational funding to pay those costs. That's called an unfunded mandate, and we've got plenty. Take, for instance, the new law that requires all districts to put an armed employee on each school campus. Unless we're willing to arm our teachers, which we're not, we need to hire enough security assistants to work at more than 100 schools, which will cost close to $4.2 million. But the state is only giving us about $3.5 million. The result is an unfunded mandate of over $600,000. With flat or declining operating revenue and ever-increasing unfunded mandates, Duval County Public Schools currently faces a budget deficit of $62 million. And with a budget cut like that, there are going to have to be some changes. Change is often hard, and changes forced because of a budget shortfall are often the hardest. While we at Duval County Public Schools will continue to do everything we can to minimize the impact in the classroom, you really have to ask Tallahassee, is this what an increase in school funding really looks like?
We would like to thank the staff for working with producing not just that video, but helping to craft the resolution, because it's important that we begin to share as much information with you as our citizens, as our voters, as our parents, regarding how to help us legislate or ask the legislature for as much funding as needed for our children, and also to understand the impact of some of the laws that have been passed. At this time, I will ask Dr. Green for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The superintendent's report for August 7th. We've been very busy over the last 30 days since our last board meeting, and I want to focus on three particular areas, three priorities. When you look at our strategic plan goal, one of the major goals is intentional focus on student achievement, and that is the only way we're going to move this district to an A rating. The second goal, safety and security of schools. If our students and our teachers, administrators don't feel safe in their environment, it's going to be very difficult to focus on instruction and learning. And the third priority is under effective, equitable, efficient use of resources is financial solvency. So first, looking at moving our school district to an A rating. When we look at our turnaround schools, which is, we talked about at the last board meeting that I was restructuring with staff, restructuring the turnaround region. One of the number one data points that stuck out to me is that teachers in the turnaround with 1 or less years of experience is 1 out of every 5 teachers that teach in turnaround schools. Teachers in turnaround with 3 years of experience or less is at 39%. That's a large number of teachers that don't have that bag of strategies to go to, not because they're not great teachers, they're just new in this profession. And one of the ways we felt that we could provide a greater level of support for these new teachers is restructuring the turnaround region.
For 3 of our schools that are now entering into the first year of the state turnaround process, that if those schools do not receive a C grade or above this school year, we will have to make a decision whether we are choosing one of the state options, and one of those options is an external operator, and we have 2 schools that are that have an external operator today. So under the new law, you can create a position called super principal. That principal can be over multiple schools, and we are very fortunate to have Miss Carolyn Davis, who's shown a level of expertise and has shown that she can turn around schools, that she will be the super principal of 3 schools that are in that first year. We will continue to have 3 executive directors, but under 2 of the executive directors, we've added 4 assistant principals. Those assistant principals' sole job is to support those new teachers in those turnaround schools. So if you have 25 teachers in your grades 3 through 5, and I just said 1 out of every 5, that's a new teacher, so that's 5 brand new teachers, and then 39% are 3 years or less, and somebody will do the math. That's probably about 4 more teachers added to that. That's 9 teachers that these assistant principals can be in their classrooms more than once a week, 2 to 3 times a week, to provide support for them. We are able to do this through the state SIG grant. So that grant will pay for the super principal and all of the assistant principals. So we are able to have 4 for 1 executive director, 4 for the other, and 1 for the super principal. In addition, with that SIG grant, we will be able to support those schools with new supplemental curriculum for interventions and mathematics instruction. Through our curriculum department, we just purchased the new science textbooks that were for grades 3 through 8. And the turnaround region will provide additional professional development. As you know, 5th grade science is a tested area on the FSA, and we will provide additional support on those early release days for those 5th grade teachers with the new science textbook. But part of that is not just turnaround. At the last principal meeting, I was invited to speak to the principals, and we talked about setting district and school targets. It's not just improving the school grades of our turnaround schools. All of our schools have to improve. If you look at our data, 1/3 of our elementary schools dropped a letter grade. That could be they went from A to B, B to C, C to D, or we even had 1 school go from D to F, but 1/3 of our in the elementary region dropped. So I came and said, we need to set some expectations. If we're going to be an A school district, it is a movement of 11 points. And that sounds like a very easy move. 11 points, what's the big deal? Well, that means everything that was at a high level has to stay at that high level, and then you have to increase 11 points. So I sort of put a challenge out to our principals that if they are an A or B school, they need to set a goal, a minimum of an increase of 11 points. And if they were our secondary schools, they could only use their 11 points in the core areas. They couldn't use it in acceleration, they couldn't use it in grad rate. So the key there was those are gonna either stay the same or go up on their own. So your 11 points need to come in these other areas. If you're rated a C school, minimally your goal should be 22 points, moving your school. And if your school has a school rating of D or F, it's the amount of points that gets you to that minimum C, which is 41%. And so we moved that process out to the schools, and I'm very proud to say Director Edwards and I toured 6 high schools today. And I went to one of the high schools and I saw that challenge on the principal's door, and she had already signed it with her regional superintendent. So I believe the principals have taken hold of this, and they are moving forward. We also came and talked about district expectations. I can't just go out there and tell the schools this is what you need to do, and we're not walking the talk. So at Cabinet, I gave them the same challenge. Look at your division, look at your department, figure out just 2 goals of what you can do to help us meet these targets of 1, becoming an A school district, and how we can continue to support our schools. And I'm very excited. I've already gotten 2 of the goal setting sheets turned back in, and Ms. Bagley made me the happiest. Her goal is to ensure she saves enough money that Dr. Green can spend it on schools. So we're going to work on that. The second priority, safety and security of schools. We have been to 8 high schools to this point, Director Edwards and myself, and today we did 6. And I looked at my phone for how, your phone can tell you how many steps you've taken. We hit over 6,000 steps today. So I texted my secretary and said, find some ibuprofen, have it on my desk so I can make it through this evening. But we are in visiting these schools, we're finding that the principals will tell us what are their areas of weakness, and what we're doing is collecting that information, and then we will meet with Mr. Nelson and Chief Edward, Director Edwards, excuse me. We'll meet with them to discuss how can we address at least 2 issues that continue to be areas of weakness under safety and security. The third priority is financial solvency. As you know, we have presented, we gave the board a balanced budget, but to ensure that that budget was going to be at a really solid 3% unassigned fund balance, we added additional district budget cuts. Those additional cuts were not only to support us having a solid 3% fund balance, but it was also to prioritize the schools. We heard loud and clear that art, music, and physical education were areas of concern, and through being able to use some of our federal dollars for positions that fall under that category, as well as those district cuts, we were able to put back $2 million worth of those positions back into the budget, and that's why we need to continue to prioritize our schools. As the superintendent, I will be having regular budget meetings with the finance department and the budget department. We will have meetings every 6 weeks. The first meeting will start the week of August 13th, and we will continue to monitor where our current budget is and how we can continue to improve our budget. Coming soon, and soon doesn't mean next week, soon means within the year, we are working on a financial dashboard that will be available on our website, so our budget will be very transparent, not only to the board, but to the community. So Ms. Bagley and I are working on that. We have a couple of prototypes to review and determine what's going to work best with our current system. But the goal is to ensure that, again, we will have that transparency on our budgets. Finally, some other notable events that I've been a part of. Chairwoman Wright and myself and Dr. Willis went to Orlando for the state board meeting on turnaround plans. Our plan was accepted at that meeting. We were very thankful because there were other districts whose plans were not accepted. Our turnaround staffing is almost complete. From Ms. Young, you should have our vacancy list, what's left of positions that are vacant. She emailed that just a couple of hours ago. Under school safety, I participated in the Jacksonville Complex Coordinated Attack Response Workshop. That was very lively. I kept apologizing to Director. I'm sorry. I just can't. I have to speak up. And it's very evident we need to have more conversations with our other organizations that would be involved if such a tragedy was to happen on any one of our campuses. It's very clear to me that they do not have the knowledge of what we are required to do, what laws we're required to follow such as FERPA and HIPAA. We just can't give that information to anyone, and I hope we will plan more meetings so that we can be on a, as they were saying, all on the same page. I participated last week in the active shooter training at First Coast High School. If you have not had an opportunity to participate, I encourage you the next time that that they offer this, that you should participate. It will make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. It makes it very real. It makes you reflect and think about what the students in Parkland went through, or what could happen on any particular campus. We were very fortunate that our secondary administrators all participated and were part of that training. And we have to have a coordinated effort between JSO and our police department and our administrators, so that we're all on the same page, and that everyone knows what to do if such an incident was to happen on any one of our campuses. Under financial solvency, I have a meeting scheduled this week. As a new superintendent, when I'm really not a new superintendent, but I'm new to the district, FADS offers services to new superintendents in areas that they want to review or have a second pair of eyes to review. And so I've asked for Tom McDowell, who is a representative from FADS. He will be coming in to review our Medicaid reimbursement. I believe that we can improve in this area, and so I've asked him to work with Dr. Gail Roberts, Executive Director of ESE, review what we're doing with Medicaid as well as other ESE practices to ensure that we are being as effective as we possibly can. And then communications. Along with Dr. Pierce, we are developing a communication strategy. One of those areas, we had an opportunity to meet with local realtors, and they think that Duval County Public Schools is a great place for parents to have their children receive their academic services, but what they were sharing is that nobody knows that, and we need to communicate that more out into our public about the great opportunities that are available at all of our schools. And when I look at our community downstairs, they want options and they're trying to choose those options. And Ms. Peak did a fantastic job sharing with the realtors how parents can get information. She gave them catalogs of a book showing all of our schools and all the programs we offer. And really, it's all about information. When parents have information, the right information, factual information, they can make great decisions for their children. And we can do a great service for our students. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Dr. Green. You know, tonight I hope that you're hearing the theme of connectivity, because we started out with an excellent informative piece about Amendment 8 from Board Member Couch. We then had a video that we've produced as a district about the budget process that anybody can look at and better understand when we say we are not, as a district, receiving more money. We are not receiving it because we're putting more money on one side versus another side. But the video explains it to you, and it's not you're hearing it from a particular person and then doubting what that person is saying. And Dr. Green has concluded with talking about how we're going to become an A district in terms of our schools' performance. Then she talked about the district's performance and her leadership from the superintendent and the cabinet down. Talked about school safety and how we are going to work within the community to ensure not just our students are safe, but teachers, staff, parents, visitors. We also talked about financial solvency and how our finances are a part of developing a concrete, clear process for our district. And then we talked about the communication piece, because that is so important. And one of the themes that we're trying to make certain that people are hearing, we're going to do more to, quote, toot our horns so people can know what is actually happening in Duval County Public Schools. So we're starting that tonight, actually we started a long time ago. Let's say we're accelerating tonight because it's important that the community begins to understand that there's so many different facets to understanding public education and becoming engaged and involved in public education. But it all starts with advocacy in terms of what is happening in terms of laws that impact what a district can do and how you can help us, if necessary, change those laws, but more importantly, how you can become a part of Team Duval. Right, Dr. Green?
Absolutely.
Team Duval.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So at this time, are there any parent organizations representative? I don't see any. Okay.
Madam Chairman, public comment?
That might help.
Yes. Thank you.
Let's start there. Thank you.
Start there. Thank you. Excuse me.
I am really trying to rush, huh? We are now on the public comment portion of our agenda. Those wishing to address the board must fill out a blue speaker's card. The school board welcomes our comments on matters that are before the board for consideration. It is not the board's intent to respond this evening, but to use the input in our deliberations. To give everyone appropriate respect and courtesy, we ask the audience to refrain from audible comments or applause. When you come to the microphone, please state your name for the record. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. When the green light in front of me starts blinking, you will have 1 minute remaining. When the light turns yellow, you will have 30 seconds remaining. When it turns red and the buzzer sounds, your time will be up. If your concerns exceed that time, you may present written comments to the board. You are asked to refrain from references to specific individuals and to follow expectations for civil discourse. Please remember that speaker cards were only accepted up until 6:20 p.m. Thank you for taking the time to address the board. We have 2 speaker cards tonight, Phyllis Martin and Sam Hall.
Madam Chair and distinguished members of the board and Superintendent Green, I'm Phyllis Martin, and I'm here this evening representing the United Way of Northeast Florida. And on behalf of Michelle Braun, our CEO, and our board of directors, I want to thank you for this opportunity, for your continued support of the Achievers for Life program, and for your continued and unwavering partnership with United Way of Northeast Florida. Together with our partners, Jewish Family and Community Services, Communities in Schools, and Big Brothers Big Sisters, we have had a 10-year partnership with Duval County Public Schools. From that partnership, thousands of children and their families have been served through Achievers for Life. Last year alone, over 1,300 children and families were served, ensuring that they successfully transitioned through middle school and that their families are engaged and connected to their schools. We truly look forward to working together with you again this year. We are always available to be of service to you and to the Duval County Public School family. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Sam Hall.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to come before you and speak. I'm Sam Hall, as you mentioned before. I'm out in District 2, and we have some great schools out there. And it was impressed upon me that we should focus on STEAM. You know, I'm a proponent of science, technology, engineering, and math, but they wanted to focus on the arts. And it appears that you're taking that to heart. You know, you're making that a priority, keeping the arts in our school, not only the performing arts, but the graphic arts. And another concern was the disciplinary code, the code of conduct in our schools. It was asked by some of the people that live in our area if we're going to modify that or if it will stay intact. So that's what I was asked to bring before you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Now we will have any comments from parent organizations, if there are any representatives here. Seeing none. Are there any comments from Mr. Stovall? Are you? Okay, so there are no comments from employee organizations representatives. We are now on the approval of minutes. That the Duval County School Board approve the minutes for the meetings listed in the agenda item. May 17th, 2018, Board Workshop. May 18th, 2018, Board Workshop. June 19th, 2018, Board Workshop and Committee Meeting. July 9th, 2018, Regular Board Meeting. July 10th, 2018, Board Workshop. July 24, 2018, Special Board Meeting. July 24th, 2018, Board Workshop and Committee Meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
The motion was moved by Board Member Grimes and seconded by Board Member Jones. Any discussion? Seeing none, please register your vote. By your actions, you have passed this item 5-0. Approval of consent agenda. Are there any items to place on the discussion agenda? Seeing none, is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
The motion was moved by Board Member Grimes and seconded by Vice Chair Hershey. Any discussion? Please register your vote. By your actions, you have approved this item 5-0. Consent with comments. Resolution regarding Florida Constitution Revision Commission Amendment 8. Ms. Couch.
Get my glasses. Thank you, Madam Chair. I pulled the item for consent with comment to read the resolution, so I'm going to do that now and then add a couple of other comments. A resolution of the School Board of Duval County, Florida regarding Florida Constitution Revision Commission Amendment 8. Whereas the School Board of Duval County, Florida, the school board consisting of 7 elected Florida constitutional officers, is the governing body for the school district of Duval County, Florida, the district. Whereas the district is the 20th largest school district in the nation and the 6th largest school district in Florida. Whereas the nurturing educational environment for all children is the highest priority of the school board. Whereas the Florida Constitution Revision Commission has proposed an amendment to the Florida Constitution, Amendment 8, that will appear on the November 2018 general election ballot. Whereas Amendment 8 appears to authorize an entity other than the elected school board to establish a traditional public school, a charter school, a school of hope, and/or other public school choice options. Whereas our nation was founded on the principle of eliminating taxation without representation, the local school board serves as the taxpayer's representative of local education funding, and transferring the authority to establish a public school to an individual or entity that is not elected denies taxpayers, families, and communities any means to hold the authorizing entity fiscally and programmatically accountable. Whereas transferring the authority to establish a public school to an entity other than the school district would permit and encourage the creation of a parallel system of free public schools, which threatens the state's ability to comply with the constitutional mandate for a uniform system of free public schools. Whereas Amendment 8 would permit and encourage a process to establish a public school without regard to the need for, desire for, or appropriateness of the new school, which threatens the state's ability to comply with the constitutional mandate for an efficient system of free public schools. Whereas an additional public school authorizing entity is neither necessary nor desirable because Florida is a national leader in public and private school choice options, including more than 3,500 traditional public schools, more than 650 charter schools, 6 existing private school scholarship programs, and a statewide policy of open enrollment. Whereas Amendment 8 does not clearly and fully explain the possible implications of authorizing an alternate entity to establish public schools. Whereas the promotion and instruction in civic literacy is already well established in Florida statutes, incorporated into the Florida standards, and measured by Florida's statewide standardized assessment system. Whereas civic literacy is well entrenched and promoted in Florida through statutes and Florida Department of Education requirements, and it is not necessary to further enshrine civic literacy in the state constitution. Whereas Duval County voters approved term limits for constitutional officers in 1992, and the school board respects the local decision to limit terms for constitutional officers and believe that limiting the term of constitutional offices rests with local voters. And whereas amendments to the Florida Constitution should be necessary, fair, desirable, and clearly understandable. Be it resolved, the school board adopts the following resolutions regarding Amendment 8. 1. The school board opposes Amendment 8 because it is not clearly understandable and it is not necessary. Number 2, the school board shall post this resolution with the minutes of the August 7th, 2018 school board meeting and shall deliver a copy of this resolution to the following. A, all Florida school board chairpersons. B, the Honorable Lenny Curry, City of Jacksonville Mayor. C, City of Jacksonville City Council members. D, Florida School Board Association. E, Florida Association of School Superintendents. I wanted to also add a few data points because that's the kind of nerd that I am. So, and I was able to go back as far as 2012. Since 2012, in 2012, there were 20 applications submitted. 13 of those applications for charter schools were approved, and 2 were denied. 5 applications were withdrawn. There were 2 appeals to the State Board of Education. So we currently have a process in law that allows charter schools to appeal to the State Board of Education through the courts. The applications overturned by the State Board were none in that year. 2 appealed. 1 appellant withdrew after briefs were submitted, and the State Board heard and affirmed the district's denial of the second appeal, which means that our staff did a very thorough job of vetting the application and contract. 2013, there were 9 applications submitted. 6 were approved, 1 was denied, 2 were withdrawn, and none of them were appealed. In 2014, 12 applications were submitted, 2 were approved, 4 were denied, 6 were withdrawn, and none of them were brought before the State Board of Education for appeal. In 2015, 4 applications were submitted, 2 were approved, 2 were denied, and again, none were brought for appeal. In 2016, 1 was submitted, 1 was approved, none were denied. In 2017, 7 were submitted, 0 were approved, and 7 were withdrawn. And what that says is that our district has a mechanism of working locally through an elected school board of making sure that when schools are approved, that they can stand on their own feet, that they can continue to stay open and serve students. If this process goes beyond an elected body who the voter can hold accountable, there's no real mechanism to hold that body accountable to ensure that they're approving the contracts appropriately and that they're going to be a good fit for this community and necessary for this district to provide choice and options. And that's just since 2012. I also want to read quickly the language, because I didn't read that earlier, and I think that's important. The text of the existing constitutional provision in Article 9, Section 4B is, the school board shall operate, control, and supervise all free public schools within the school district and determine the rate of school taxes within the limits prescribed herein. 2 or more school districts may operate and finance joint educational programs. The proposed revision reads like this. The school board shall operate, control, and supervise all free public schools. And they inserted this one small snippet. Established by the district school board within the school district and determine the rate of school district taxes within the limits prescribed herein. So the title and relevant part of the summary, the title is School Board Term Limits and Duties, Public Schools. And in Supreme Court cases in the history in Florida, when there's amendments, the language needs to be very clear in the title and in the summary as to what the intent of the revision is proposing. It only says school board term limits and duties. It's not clear that this is going to then establish another authorizing agency to authorize schools and potentially levy your taxes. They aren't clear how that's going to happen, which is another problem. And the summary says currently district school boards have a constitutional duty to operate, control, and supervise all public schools. The amendment maintains the school board's duties to public schools it establishes, but permits the state to operate, control, and supervise public schools not established by the school board. So that would be through an appointed body that would be making those decisions, or whoever the legislature deems fit for that role. One other thing that I want to point out is school board elections are nonpartisan. Children don't vote based off of a party, and that's why they've been held sacredly nonpartisan. When you get to a place where you're going to have an outside entity at the state level creating and authorizing agency, then you get into partisan politics as to which whoever gets lobbied the heaviest with finances gets to make those decisions. And quite frankly, it is against what our founding fathers fought so hard for our independence, and that is to have taxation with representation and a government closest to the people.
Thank you. Any other board member? Mr. Jones?
Well, yeah, I just want to thank Board Member Couch for that explanation and emphasize to the voters and those who are listening that it's not on the ballot this month. This is November, assuming it withstands the legal challenge. And I think it's important that voters realize that the language is misleading, and that if it is approved, then this board, not a city council or any other entity in Jacksonville, can prevent a school from locating in their neighborhood, as some communities have experienced already. So I think that's important to remember, that there's no recourse to any elected body if this amendment were to pass.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other? Vice Chair Herschel.
I think another important point to make, and Board Member Couch has hammered on this some, but I just wanted to reiterate that Amendment 8 eliminates home rule. And if you care about local control and you like being able to hold elected officials accountable, I encourage you to do your homework and to do your research on Amendment 8. If it does make it on the ballot, there will be a PR campaign. 8 is great. But I would just like to remind you that Amendment 8 will eliminate home rule.
Thank you. I would like to, for the record, read a statement from Board Member Ashley Smith Juarez, who is unfortunately unable to be here because of flight delays. Quote, I do want to express my support for the resolution on the agenda tonight and to thank Board Member Couch for bringing it forward, end of quote, so that we make certain that her comments are a part of the record. And I think that much has been said about Amendment 8, and now what we need is for more people to go out and begin to talk about Amendment 8, because if we're not careful, and we're August, November will be here momentarily, and we don't want to get, as a voting populace, we do not want to be caught flat-footed. We need you all, the entire audience, to begin to talk about Amendment 8 and help your friends and your neighbors and your co-workers to understand the elimination of home rule. And you won't be able to call an elected school board member to have any conversation about what's going on in charter schools. Right now, you do call us, and we help where we can, because we're concerned about every building that is established to educate our children in Jacksonville. But if you remove home rule, then we won't have any opportunity to serve you as elected school board members. So Tonight is a point of getting out and helping us advocate for us. And by us, I mean our community, our students, our teachers, and our great city. Public hearing and vote. Approval of revision to policy 3.16, school calendar. That the Duval County School Board conduct a public hearing and adopt recommended revisions to policy 3.16, school calendar. Dr. Green, is this your recommendation?
Madam Chair, yes, it is my recommendation.
At this time, I open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak to this public hearing? Seeing none, I close this public hearing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
The motion was moved by Board Member Grimes and seconded by Board Member Couch. Are there any board members wishing to speak to this public hearing? Ms. Couch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the chair to the superintendent, there was a change in this past year's calendar, and we added some language in here to ensure that there's more notice to employees, but we have received some constituent feedback on the change. Can you explain why there may be changes and why we had to shorten the, I think we shortened the time frame for this particular policy because of what we were experiencing? Can you explain what that was?
Board Member Wright to Board Member Couch. I'm going to explain my portion, and then I'm going to ask Dr. Kelly Coker-Daniels to come and finish the explanation. The calendars were created some time ago, and each year we wait to receive information from the Department of Education on the testing calendar. When will we be required to administer assessments? And this year that information was received extremely late, and it impacted the spring break, that portion of the calendar, and we needed to go back and make that adjustment. And we have responded to the constituents who have sent emails, and I've gotten very favorable responses back from that response. But if Dr. Kelly Coker-Daniels would like to add anything to that.
Through the chair to Board Member Couch, Dr. Green is absolutely correct in what she said, in that these calendars were published far in advance. The state then moved the testing calendar on us. We were in a situation where we had to address where spring break was held. We've had a couple of years where this has happened, where spring break was in a place where our third graders were coming back to testing right as we were coming back from spring break. And we certainly don't want day one of students after a vacation for our first time test takers. And so this new calendar addresses the need to make sure that there's adequate time for teachers and students to be ready.
And the policy, which is what's before us here, this was discussed in the policy subcommittee as a result of the discussion we're having around the calendar. And I believe it's reduced now to 2 years out instead of 3. That's the major change, plus notifying faculty, I think, of it.
All right, through the chair to Board Member Couch again. You are correct. It reduces it down to 2 years instead of 3. And additionally, it does make sure that we let employees know as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, please register your vote. By your actions, you have approved this item 5-0. That the Duval County School Board approve the following board member travel: July 17th through the 18th, 2018, Orlando, Florida, State Board of Education meeting, Wright. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
The motion was moved by Board Member Grimes, seconded by Board Member Couch. Any discussion? Seeing none, please register your vote. By your actions, you have approved this item 5-0. With no superintendent travel, we are now on for the record. And it is for the record. It's 7:24 p.m. Vice Chairman Hershey.
Thank you. I was sitting here thinking, I hope she doesn't call me first. It's hard to believe that summer's over. I hope everyone had a great summer and are looking forward to returning to school. I was out at Mandarin Middle School yesterday, and they were putting the new locks on the front door, so Mandarin Middle is getting a buzzer. So I encourage parents to bring your ID and be patient and get buzzed in. Loretto Elementary now has some new fencing, which may cause some issues with traffic the first day of school, so arrive early and be patient and bring your ID. Would just like to also thank Dr. Green for participating in the conversations with realtors this week. It was really fantastic, and Ms. Peaks was awesome. She and I spoke with a group of realtors out at the beach, and then Chair Wright and Dr. Green and I and Ms. Peak were with some realtors on the south side. So we reached about 75 realtors this week, and the significant thing about that outreach is they were excited to be able to share a link that we're going to get them, well, with Ms. Peak's help, to help educate people relocating to Jacksonville on our schools before they get here. So with what Chair Wright said about Team Duval and getting everybody on the same page, I think this is part of that concerted effort.
Thank you. Board Member Couch.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to welcome everyone back, teachers, students, faculty. It does seem like this summer zipped by, but I will be glad when the children in my house are back in school. And I want to say thank you to the business partners who helped support Dr. Green's reception. I thought it was a wonderful event and very well attended. So Team Duval, you put the call out there and I got excited. I was ready to sign up for the draft, even though I'm already part of the team. But it was a wonderful event, and looking forward to all of the great things that are going to take place this year and in the future. I want to remind everyone who's a driver that now that school is back in session, to be careful in our school zones. Sometimes the lights aren't always working, and they have to be fixed. It's city and district issue communicating together, but just be cautious when you go through school zones for the safety of our students who are biking and walking to school. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Couch. Board Member Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Summer has flown by. I just want to thank a couple of nonprofits that work to make sure our students were ready for school on day one. The Newtown Success Zone had a very good back-to-school event. They gave over 1,000 backpacks to kids who are going to school, who are going to start school in a week from yesterday, And also the Baptist Ministers Conference of Duval and adjacent counties. They had an event wasn't in my district, unfortunately, but it was in Mrs. Wright's district, where they gave backpacks and physicals to students who were preparing to go back to school. And finally, Tan Mayhew with Kicks for Kids. And you might have seen it on Channel 4. She gave out I went by there Sunday after church, and they were still lined up. I saw a number of 400, so I guess they had 400 people that they gave shoes to. And it was very well organized. JSO was present. The people were very orderly. They didn't have to wait in line, but some of them were afraid not to wait in line. So they stood in the heat because they wanted to get the shoes, the new shoes for their students for back to school. So I just want to thank those three organizations and our individuals for their work and helping prepare our kids for school next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Jones. Board Member Gramps.
Thank you. First, I want to tell Ms.
Couch that I appreciate you're a nerd. Is that what you called yourself? Because you really, I'm really going to miss you because you do really delve into things that I probably would just not read about it. But I do appreciate you. I too can't, I also cannot believe that we're back in school. I've been visiting some of my schools, and it's just, I wish that all the community could come out and see what it's like when these teachers come back and they're so excited and there's so much to do. And I saw business partners who were out painting the schools, and other partners that came in and brought lunch or breakfast. And I mean, we just have a wonderful community. And I only wish that we could get more people in our schools, just come see our schools. And of course, not being an educator, technically, I tell the teachers that they are our heroes. They're my heroes. I couldn't do what they do. I couldn't do what all of y'all do out there. And but they're changing lives every day. And I'm so grateful for our teachers. And I'm glad that we're doing something for them. But I think it's really important as we do the Team Duval and to really highlight what it takes to be a teacher, because it's not just about the reading and writing. There are lots of other issues that our teachers have to deal with. So I really, really appreciate all of the teachers, all of the principals, our district staff, the custodians, the cafeteria people. It takes a village, and I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Grimes. I just want to be a part of the choir that sing praises to our administrators, from principals, assistant principals, deans, counselors, our teachers, our students, paras, our all support staff. Today I had an opportunity to attend a luncheon that's sponsored by Terrell and Hogan, Wayne Hogan, attorney, for the Crossing Guard. He gives an annual welcome back luncheon, and just to see, you know, and have an opportunity to talk to another part of our most important family that helps to protect our children as they cross the street. It was just a good feeling to see how excited everybody is about the return to school. So just welcome back to everyone. Thank certainly district staff and Dr. Green for all the work that she's doing to make certain that we have a flawless opening, which is, I always laugh at that term, flawless opening, okay, but. Okay, so, yes, that is definitely a misnomer, but we're excited.
Less flaws. That's what it means.
Okay, yeah,
less flaws.
Exactly.
Flawless. Yeah.
So we're looking forward to August 13th as our first day, and just remind parents that if you haven't started, this is the week to start, to make certain that the kids go to bed a little earlier so they can get up earlier, and just welcome back. We're all prepared and expecting a great year for everyone involved, and just want to also thank. I'm going to add to the thank yous in the First Baptist Church of Oakland. There were so many events this past weekend to welcome back our students by providing them supplies. That is just amazing. And this weekend there are just as many other events that are planned. But also just wanted to say in regards to the realtors, meeting with the realtors with Vice Chair Hershey and the Superintendent, Dr. Green, this is an awesome opportunity to, again, that advocacy piece, in helping a critical portion of our community who sell homes and bring families into homes that their students will serve our schools, to help them to better understand not just the complexity of our schools, but the opportunities within our schools, the diversity of our schools. And they were just so excited. So just and we're going to continue that process to continue to reach out to all as many groups as possible. So welcome back. We're looking for a great 2018-19, 11 points away from that A, but more importantly, an opportunity to not just get 11 points in an A, but to ensure that every student receives a quality education. Oh, thank you. She's throwing the baseball signal to me because I am going to throw out the first pitch at the Jumbo Shrimp game tomorrow night.
It's going to be flawless, right?
Flawless. You know I'm practicing, right?
Are you going to start it from the pitcher's man, or do you?
No, I'm going to go to the pitcher's man. I'm going to get it all the way there.
I can have one of my boys practice.
Okay, let's do that tomorrow. So come on out to the Jumbo Shrimp game as they celebrate back to school at 7:05 at the Jumbo Shrimp game. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Second.
The motion has been moved by Board Member Grimes and seconded by Vice Chairman Hershey. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing none, meeting adjourned. Yes.
I think that's a record. Let's take a win. Yes. Huh? Oh,
Gosh, now I can make it to the gym. See you in the morning.
all right. Thanks, Joanna.